This week we're reading Alchemised by SenLinYu, otherwise known as Psst I See Dead People.
Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the book pod where we celebrate the heroines we love
and roast the ones we don't. We'll be your TBR FGMs.
Fairy godmothers.
And find you the best 5-star reads, the spiciest romance, and save you from the overhyped DNFs.
So grab your favorite drink and get cozy. Welcome to Season 3.
It is time.
We have arrived at Alchemised.
I'm gonna cry.
Probably.
I don't know that I'm emotionally ready to talk about this book.
It has taken us, readers, a good 3 hours of practice recording and snacks to get to the point where we're ready to talk about this book. There will be tears, probably over these fucking Pottermore quiz results.
So a little fun story for you from the beginning. I found a Pottermore compilation quiz that has all of the questions available to determine what your Hogwarts house is. And I have apparently changed since, pushing a child out. Oh no.
Let me
Girl.
interrupt. Okay, so
Oh,
I think we need to clarify that we have our self-identified houses.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
You are a self-identified Ravenclaw.
Yeah, and I've had other people tell me I'm a Gryffindor, and I was like, I don't know that either of these fit. This Pottermore quiz told me that I am a Hufflepuff.
Oh my god.
There's no hate to Hufflepuff, but I feel like I've always been more aggressive, outspoken, but maybe I am a gentle badger on the inside.
You are. Badgers are fierce.
I could see that.
You will protect your own, but you're also you are so kind and so sensitive.
I am sensitive.
There are just comments I have to keep on the inside because they're not nice enough for you. And I would feel bad having your ears listen to meanness.
That's fair. I am just, consoling myself with the knowledge that Robert Pattinson, good old Cedric Diggory is also a Hufflepuff. So at least I'm hot.
You're in good company. It's solid.
I think the more
Not a
seismic, maybe is the right word, discovery of this quiz is your results.
Yeah, so I am a diehard Slytherin. I have a snake candle on my desk. I have Slytherin everything.
Yeah.
And I took this quiz, and this bitch says 80% dominant Gryffindor.
Okay, so if I was going to write a fanfic of this experience, you're sorted into Gryffindor, you feel some kind of way about it, and you have some kind of student-teacher crush on Snape because he's the Slytherin house leader, and you just love going to potions class, and then, if you wanted to get explicit rating, that's the...
I already want to read this. Sign me up.
Yep. The snake in red clothes.
So you're Hufflepuff. I'm a Gryffindor. Explains why we get along.
It does, honestly.
And we're here to talk about the masterpiece book that is Alchemised.
Yeah.
If you listen to our reading update, we tried to stay away from talking about the specifics of the book, the world building, any of that. We just really wanted to focus on our experience, listening to SenLinYu and her kind of takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
So our intent with this episode, this is why it took us 3 hours to get to this point, is that we don't think we can do justice to the synopsis of this book.
Mm-hmm.
It is over 1,000 pages long, and it is almost impossible to kind of describe it from start to finish because it is not a chronological story. Also, I feel like you kind of lose a lot of the, what's the word?
The nuance.
Yeah. Even if you're hey, readers, if you listen to us thinking, hey, you want us to help vet your next read, cool, I'm glad we can do that for you. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. Yeah. But I don't think we can do that for Alchemised. Mm-hmm. You really either have to read it for yourself or not.
I feel like the story lives in the details. And when we do these summaries of the books, we kind of focus on big plot moments. And we sometimes kind of, have a tangent into the little details that make us love the book. But that's all of Alchemised, that these little moments of I know he's said that before. And then, so we can't obviously just read line by line the whole book.
No, because it is just one sentence takeaway sometimes every 100 pages that leads you to a realization 500 pages later. And you're like, oh my God, SenLinYu is a wizard and she created this.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess so. Our plan for this episode, if you would like to listen to the rest of it, is
please,
knowing what you know now is we're about a line in, is to kind of give you like a primer, like a reading companion if the world building is very complex.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to do here is kind of introduce you to the world building, lay out some of the characters, lay out the religion and the science and some of the parallels that we learned from SenLinYu in her author interview, and do some fun stuff as well. So you kind of have an idea on, do I even want to try?
And we are also going to give a list of similar books because the book hangover after Alchemized is
for real
excruciating. And some of them may surprise you as books to follow on after Alchemized. Some of them you'd be like, oh yeah, that fits. And then, we have your fix if you're like, what the fuck do I read after this? Honestly, same. Just start with Allie Hazelwood and then jump into these books.
You need to be really gentle at the finish of this.
Yeah. Do we want to start on a emotionally fraught
Yes,
note?
we do. Please lead with what you sent me this morning on your way here.
All right. So I have a bunch of songs favorited on my Spotify, and I just listen to the shuffle. So I'll go from classical to indie to rap, yada, yada. So I was on the way to Jordan's house this morning, and She Calls Me Back by Noah Kahan started playing. And I was like, oh, this is a fun, folksy pop, autumn music. I am digging it. And I pause and I listen to the lyrics. And the response I had was emotional and visceral. Because, behind this folksy pop fun bop, the words mirror Alchemized to a disturbing degree. And so I am going to put on my poet hat and recite to you some of these verses.
Here we go.
I could be an old tattoo to remind me when I get bad news that I do not exist to die, but live to die while saving you.
Oh my God. It's so true.
Why am I so obsessive, hanging on to every sentence? And I don't get much sleep most nights. I'm seeing you in every dream. If only I could wake you up. If only I could fall asleep. Dog, if that is not the plot of this fucking book.
It is. But the lyrics are masquerading in the vibe, beat, melody, because the key that the song is in is very indie, fall, happy, driving down a country road.
Yep.
And when you listen to it, you're like, this is sad.
Wait a second.
So you sent me this song, and I listened to it, and I'd heard this song before, but I hadn't really paid attention to the lyrics.
Because it's a bop. You're like, oh, this is fun.
What's that other song he's got that played, never ending for a solid year?
It's not
Stick Season. That's what it is. Yeah, that's this hardest readers. You've almost certainly heard that.
Yeah. Or the one with Post Malone, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
So you sent me that. That immediately reminded me of oh, yeah, there's another song that reminds me of this book. It's called I Found by Amber Runn. This will tell you right away that it is a sad song because you start playing it. Had you heard it before?
Nope. And I was like, oh, so this is the vibe of Alchemized.
Minor key, really dark. Someone's getting their heart broken in this song. And so I will also channel some inner poet. I'm sorry in advance.
Apology.
Here we go. And I'll use you as a warning sign that if you talk enough sense, then you'll lose your mind. Oh, and I found love where it wasn't supposed to be, right in front of me. Talk some sense into me. Oh my God.
Dog. I feel tired when I think about this book.
So I think this book is divided into 3 parts. Each part has a very different aesthetic and kind of pacing. I feel like She Calls Me Back is part 3 a little bit.
I can see that.
Maybe the end of part 2. And I Found is part 1 into part 2. a little bit.
Yeah.
Some authors actually do include their Spotify playlists at the beginnings of books.
Oh, yeah. I want to say there is an Alchemized playlist, if I am not mistaken. We'll link that if that actually exists.
But if you wanted like a 3-minute preview of what you're getting into as a book, listen to these 2 songs and you'll kind of have a general idea of how sad you will be. Sad, but with a qualifier, right? Because I would classify Alchemized as a happily ever after book.
Yeah, and I would also classify it as a happy ever after, but, like, talking with friends who maybe don't, like, read as much into romantasy as we do, I feel like they're like, "Oh, but it's, like, sad," and it is sad because it's the whole story is 2 people who are surviving, not because necessarily that they want to be alive, but they can't imagine the other person not being alive, and it's just like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have to stay alive," and then the other person is saying the same thing, and so these are 2, like, significantly traumatized people, and so it's like, yeah, they're happy, but at what cost?
That kind of leads us into the content warnings.
Yeah.
So if you buy a copy of Alchemized, there will be an author's note saying, "Hey, there's some problematic elements in this book, and if you want the full list, flip to this page."
Dude.
So we have the list for you, pulled straight from the book. I added like 2 or 3 to this list that just I think wouldn't normally be considered like a trigger warning. So for example, gore.
Mm.
Or like if you've seen the Saw movies, right?
Oh. Yeah. These movies are very, like
Yeah. So this book
ooh.
is the equivalent of a Saw movie when we're talking about levels of gore and
Yeah.
detail with like physical violence. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do Saw. Like that's
No.
not my jam. I don't like those.
Okay, so that was one of the first, like, horror scary movies that I saw, and girl, I cannot explain the trauma.
Mhm.
Between, like, the first and second movies, I did not sleep without a light on for, like, years 8 to, like,
Oh
13.
no.
Yeah, traumatizing.
So if you have a vivid imagination
Yeah.
and you get triggered by like extreme descriptions of gore and violence and horror, not for you. So here's a quick rundown list of the content warnings.
Dude.
I'm sorry. Here we go, real fast. Sexual assault, rape, gore, PTSD, depression, suicide, pregnancy, self-harm, human experimentation, necrophilia, medical torture, eugenics, cannibalism, and religious abuse. I'd never want to say that list again.
No. The cannibalism too,
Oh God, that scene is
dog, because it kind of not that it comes out of nowhere, but because are you thinking of the scene at the end of
Mhm.
part 2?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Because it, like, gets briefly mentioned in part 1 that she, like, witnessed this or some kind of there's an allusion to it at the beginning. But when you read the scene, and it's not even excessive, it's not gratuitous, the visceral reaction
Oh,
that
it's
you have
terrible.
to it.
So before we get into any more of our discussion of this book, I think it would give the readers, listeners, an example of what you're getting into if you know what this scene is. For example, cannibalism, right, is
Yeah.
one of the content warnings here. One of the scenes, and it is detailed but not super detailed.
It's very, like, brief
Mhm.
almost, but visceral.
Exactly. So if this would be enough to kind of turn you off of the book, do not read Alchemized.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a book for everyone. I think the book is fantastic. The writing is beautiful. The characters are amazing.
Mhm.
Not a book for everyone.
Similar to Daughter of the Forest.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So in this scene that our heroine witnesses, necromancy is one of the aspects of the magic in this book. And so the ruling party, the victorious people in the war, and we'll get into that later, are making an example of all of the resistance fighters that they have captured.
Mhm.
So they make one of the generals of the resistance, they kill him, and then they reanimate his body. And then they make the reanimated body slice pieces of skin and meat off of the living body of his wife,
Ugh.
and then force the dead general to eat those pieces. It feels disgusting to even kind of describe this.
Which is crazy because it's not any more than, like, 2 or 3 lines, but it's such a, like, soul revolting, like, that whole the end part of part 2, it made me queasy, especially the part I don't wanna get into the plot because that's not what we're here to do. but I would almost put claustrophobic. Claustrophobia on this content warning, because I almost had to stop reading. Like, I'm not claustrophobic, but the way it's described that she's, like, put into this tank.
Yeah, that actually, claustrophobia would be, yeah.
Dude.
So if that description alone was too much for you, I would not read this book.
No.
Because that's probably the most minor thing that you're going to experience in here.
Yeah.
So,
On that happy note.
On that lovely note, kind of getting more into the technical setup of the world and the magic. We'll talk about some of the characters too, but really what we want this episode to be for you is I want to read this book. There's a lot going on in it. Like, help me kind of understand. And with the caveat is we're probably going to get some of this wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's very complex.
Yes. Because if I had one gripe, or not even, I don't know that I'd use the word gripe, but criticism maybe, but again, not that heavy, just thought about this book is that sometimes you are so invested in the romantic plot line, which is kind of like at the forefront of the book, that some of the plot gets a little bit too heavy at points where you kind of want to skim past some of the details so that you can get back to this like emotional, visceral connection between the two main characters. They kind of like glide past some of the things that become important later. So it does get very heavy where you're like, I don't really understand like the machinations behind some of this. So if you're one of the girlies who are doing this for the like romantasy, like, oh my God, maybe just listen to this full episode, be like, okay, I kind of have a grasp of what's going on, and then go into the book. Yeah.
Okay, I just remembered that we have our similar books too. Do we want to get into that before we get into the world building and structure?
Yes, I think so. Master Crows, dude.
Bro,
Grace Draven.
hell yeah.
This is a cousin, like, the cousins that look like they're twins, and it's like, I know that you guys have different, like, parents on one side, but, like, someone was getting up to some naughty business. That's Alchemised and Master Crows.
It's in the characterization of Kaine Fallon. That's his full name.
Kaine Farron?
Farron, yeah. And Silhara.
Yeah, dude.
Just
birds of a feather.
They are the cruel but kind. There's just no pretense with these characters.
Yeah.
You love it. Like, again, like I think back to the scene where Silhara stabs the guy.
Oh my God, dude.
I do. Right? Like, that's Kaine Farron. Yeah. Like, that's him.
He'd be like watching from the background and be like, you know what? I get it. Yeah. I get it. I understand it.
He'd be like, do you want some help? I got an extra knife.
Boys gotta, respect.
And I will say that Martise and Helena are very similar characters as well. Kind of more soft.
Yeah.
Like caretakers, more like will respond to their environment rather than being proactive in their environment.
But also kind of have that like weird inner strength where they don't seem like they would be strong, aggressive characters that kind of like stand on business. But like there's certain things that they're like, nah, dog. This is a firm line that I will defend to my death. Which is the SenLinYu Q&A. They talked about that being kind of the concept behind Helena's character.
It makes me wonder if SenLinYu has read Grace Draven.
The probability of there being so many parallels, because the fucking house.
I know.
I can't even talk. Identical. Martise walks into the manor that Silhara owns, and it's crumbling on one side. There's like a courtyard and the dude.
It's the same. So that's kind of the more fun, like you want your romance dominant plot line, go to Grace Draven, go to Master of Crows and read those. But if you are more of a intellectual type and you want your literature and you're like, I care more about the plot and the world building and all of that, then we would steer you towards The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo.
Fibrous.
Oh, so fibrous. So chewy. But it's the amount of detail she put into the magic system and the layers of complex plot in that book, my brain appreciates it, but my soul wants dagger and a picnic table.
Yeah, it's like The Familiar is like red wine and like velvets and candlelight where it's kind of hazy and smoky and you're like, I need kind of like a breath of air. That's how The Familiar feels, and there's like parts of that in Alchemized.
but it's like Alchemised does it better.
Yeah, honestly. Because we talked about it, there's more romance in Alchemized, which sounds crazy, but there is. Like, it's more romance forward.
It's about two people and their relationship developing throughout the course of a war.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. That's the tagline.
I mean, there you go. But some other similar books, you have A Song of Ice and Fire on here.
Yeah, by George R.R. Martin. But, like, the same level of rigor, maybe, that Alchemized is not just some, like, romantasy book. Like, there's a lot of intellectual depth to it that I feel like is similar. Like, there's so much backstory to things.
That's what I mean, is George R. R. Martin has...
You're trying to find a nice word. I'm looking for it. I'm looking.
I can't talk about George R. R. Martin because I don't know enough about him.
Oh.
But so I do know, for example, about some historical romance authors, right? So like Eloisa James comes to mind. I don't love her books, but her books are rigorously historically accurate because she has done the research, she has the education, and she doesn't just throw a bunch of shit together because she wants to see characters and tropes in this certain universe.
Yeah.
And SenLinYu has demonstrated that. And I think George R. R. Martin did that. He built these worlds. He built the religion and the science and the government, right? SenLinYu did that for Alchemized. And I think that's kind of the comparison we got there, which is she did not write this book to completely portray just a romance. She did it to completely build a world from the ground up.
Yeah. Because I think it's the depth of George R. R. Martin's series that kind of rings the same bell, where it's like all of the side characters aren't side characters, they're full characters, but you just like meet them for a moment. That's how I felt reading
Yeah,
Alchemized.
that's a great...
Yeah,
I agree. I think also too the way that he does magic in the Game of Thrones series, which is it's like the characters don't view it as fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not magic to them. And then the magic that does exist in the world is like this offshoot, like heretical kind of like, oh, the Red Witch and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
My extent of knowledge of Game of Thrones is from HBO. So,
oh, dude, I read all like 8,000 pages of this series.
I read A Clash of Kings at 14 and saw the incest scene and then never picked another George R. R. Martin book up again.
Dog, that's fair. I think it was just like the summer of like junior year, and I just a week. That's all I did.
That's fair.
I think my like dad even like came to check in on me, and he's like, "Are you still alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just making my way through, making my way downtown."
Oh, Katie.
But yeah. So those are our list of recommendations. If you're interested. Or even if you're feeling intimidated by Alchemized, I would say that to start with Master of Crows and be like, okay, like I feel kind of good about that. It's very mature. It's a little bit, more intense feeling. And then be like, oh, okay, like if you can do Master of Crows, you can do Alchemized.
Let's get into kind of the need to know what will help you, I hope, understand Alchemized at its heart.
Yeah. From two vaguely unqualified people to talk about this.
Like, we both read Manacled. We've both read Alchemized. We went to the SenLinYu Q&A.
Yeah.
We kind of get it. I mean, it's a Hufflepuff and a Gryffindor. Like, you're going to get, like, the 50% solution.
Yeah. If we had a Ravenclaw to kind of, like, even out our experience, you might have a more educated conversation, but I do not claim that knowledge.
I think we start from the ground up, which is fitting, considering it's a vertical city-state.
Yes. Which, very clever, first of all, to have it upward instead of outward.
Very smart, SenLinYu. So we start in the city-state of Palladia. Palladia? How do you say it?
Neither of us listen to
God
the audio
damn it.
books.
Like, we're stuck on this. I would think of the United Kingdom. It's a little island.
Oh. I thought of Singapore. I don't know.
That's weird.
Or like maybe like, I don't know. That was the one that came to mind. Or Manhattan, maybe?
I think that's fair. An island that's kind of geographically separated from all of its bordering countries because of its its geographic position, it's allowed to kind of expand and do its own thing without much like outside influence. So Palladia,
We'll just see which one happens.
yeah, it's great. Tiny island, population explosion. So it grows up instead of outwards. So you have this vertical cities where like layers upon layers upon layers of buildings, and you can traverse through the city just by like going through walkways that connect buildings to each other. And then as you get into like the ground base level of these cities, it's kind of like the slums and the like the under dark belly of Palladia.
Yeah. I also thought of the main planet in Star Wars that gets blown up. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's in all of the, like, prequel movies.
Oh, I only know it from the video game. I'm sorry.
But it's, like, the same concept that all of the, like, rich people live at the top and see the sun and all the beautifulness, and then the people down below are like, "Cool."
Sad.
Say something before you empty out your chamber pot.
Oh, God. Dark. But the government structure here is very similar, I would say. I am not a political scientist, so grain of salt here. I would say there is a principate, which I would like make equivalent to a prime minister.
Yeah.
And then there is the guilds of various like metal types. You have the Guild of Iron and Guild of Gold, Silver, whatever. And they kind of function like the House of Lords, House of Commons. Or if you're in the US, it would be like the House of Representatives in the Senate, and you have your president.
I will say though that like it's kind of similar. Did you ever watch The Crown with Anna Foy or whatever her name is? It reminds me of that because the queen also sits in on like cabinet meetings with the prime minister and like the whole cabinet and everyone like in charge of running the government, and it kind of feels like that where the principate is like the monarch and he's like advising, also kind of like you're not totally like religious figure but like kind of.
Yeah, that is a good point because the principate is the like a merge of like a monarchy figure and a like elected figure as well, which makes it difficult because there is a religious overtone here as well.
Because isn't the ruler of England also the ruler of the Church
of England? Yeah, because King Henry needed a divorce.
Yeah. Okay, so it's super similar then.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, I know a thing.
So the development of the country and the government is intertwined with religion, like most countries.
What?
No, it never happens
Crazy.
like that.
It's not like that's, the thing that's being.
So you mentioned kind of the the mandate of God.
Yeah.
With the principate, which is it's really hard to talk about the world without talking about the magic and science.
We could talk about how that kind of like feeds into the concepts because you still need to know a little bit about like how the magic works into the outside factors without necessarily talking about our girl Helena.
So that's a good point that SenLinYu made during her Q&A, which is the alchemy that is like throughout the book and the way they manipulate metals and bodies and all like necromancy, vivamancy, animancy, manipulation of iron, silver, gold, fire, etc. is not considered magic. It's not considered fantasy. It's considered science to the people in the books. And that is kind of, it's like science intertwined with religion, which is a very complex structure, made more complex when the science starts to interfere with the understanding of religion, which leads us into the war. For the principate, I don't like that word. There's too many P's.
Because when I was reading it, I'd be like, oh yeah, the principate.
The brain just stutters over it. Because it seems to be like the mandate of God, where the principate is one of the few bodies on Earth who can control gold.
Yeah.
Because in alchemy, turning
lead into gold or like lesser metals
into gold is like only so many people can do it, and that is the
point of alchemy.
Exactly. And then controlling fire as well. So there's a family called the Holdfast family who demonstrated this affinity for turning metal into gold and controlling fire. And they became the
ruling
family
body.
figure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they founded the Alchemy Institute,
Mhm.
which is this educational system where they teach everything that you need to know about alchemy, which, like, this is how you manipulate iron and silver and do all of these things.
Mhm.
It's, again, not fantasy to the characters.
Mhm. 'Cause I feel like that kind of sets it apart from some of the other fantasy romance books that we've read, where even to the characters, there's a sort of, like, disbelief almost. They're like, "Wow, this is magic." But, like, to them, it's just, like, daily life, just ingrained that there's some kind of, like, magical scientific thing that's just a part of their daily life, and that's how they, like, do things. It's
Mhm.
very believable isn't quite the right word that I would use, but you know what I mean? Where it's just,
Mhm.
like, intrinsic maybe?
It's just part of the world.
Yeah.
Um,
And I feel like maybe we could talk about the start of th the country maybe, because this was a part that I little reveal here, I didn't read well enough apparently when I read Alchemized, because I got to the reveal at the end and I was like, "Who are these people?" And I had just apparently skipped past the important part where I learned, kind of the base foundation for why that reveal was important, and I'm like, "I need to skip past, a couple pages." But before Palladia was any kind of country, there was a guy who was kind of a baddie necromancer, kind of dealing with some of the occult, and he put together a following of other necromancers, and he's like, "Hey guys, I know that you all believe in me, and I think that in order to kind of like I don't even remember really the foundation of this, but like in order to do X, we all need to sacrifice ourselves to like bring forth, our religious mandate into this world or whatever." So all of these people sacrifice themselves. However, there is a different alternate kind of like reading of history where the founder of the Holdfast dynasty, basically, Orion, was there, and that he kind of like believed so viscerally in the faith and the eternal flame and the teachings that at the last moment when he thought that he was going to be overwhelmed by all of these necromancers, a miracle happened and he was able to slay all of the necromancers before they could do anything shady. And that is how, the Holdfast dynasty came to being, is like this family has been there from the very beginning. They established the whole country. And that kind of explains this like power they have over the, school of alchemy, and like why there's such a dissonance between the family, the faith, and then also like the guilds, who kind of represent this like industrial revolution kind of like regular person body that are like, "Hold on, like, what the fuck is going on with this religion?" But it's like, it's so ingrained because it's at the beginning of this nation when it was born. It's like Orion Holdfast was there and he's the savior and it was a miracle. Huzzah!
I feel like I just attended the 400 level class. When
Sorry.
you said, like, the dissonance of family and faith and guilt, I'm like,
Anyways,
I'm gonna go back to kindergarten. Fine.
so that's like the basis though, is they've been in power the whole time. And so I feel like those kind of understandings feed into like Helena's relationship with like Luke and the
Mhm.
school, which becomes kind of fundamental, understanding as you read through and you're like, "Wait a second."
So if you had to boil down Alchemized and what is the root cause of all evil and all,
Mm,
like, fighting in this book, it comes down to the use of necromancy.
yeah.
Because very back at the beginning with the Holdfast and the two brothers, Orion and Moro, which is Moro was using necromancy to, uh,
Are
create.
we okay with that being a spoiler?
I think so. I
Okay.
don't think it really takes away from much of the plot. It's kind of like, I don't know, when I read at the end of the book, it didn't seem to strike me as a, "Oh,
Crazy?
shocker."
Okay, I felt the same way. I just wanted to double
Okay.
check.
But the division between and the start of the war that Helena ends up being on one side is that there is one faction of the population dominated by the guilds saying that, "Hey, why don't we use necromancy? Because there's all of these dead bodies around. What if we reanimate them? They can go work in the mines. We're not losing like real human manpower. They'd be dead anyway. Why not?" And that kind of goes back to the question that SenLinYu posed during her Q&A, which is like her friend had a visceral reaction to well, can you use my organs after I die? And this is the starting point for all of the magic is necromancy or no necromancy. And so if you are on the side of the Holdfast dynasty and the side of true alchemy and what you think is the good people of this book, it is the people who say necromancy is bad, thou shalt not use it under any circumstances for whatever reason. And the guilds are like, but science, but money.
Yeah.
And say, this is actually recycling.
Honestly. Because I think there's also kind of the capitalistic portion of this, because the thing that they're mining that is key to alchemy,
Alchemisy is just creating words
alchemy.
now.
There we go. And like different the types of like magic and science is like lithium. Lithium. I always said it was lithium, but that's not how it's spelled.
That's like a lithium battery.
Lumithium. Some kind of substance from the ground. And that is kind of like underpinning the whole like power structure, maybe, that the closer you are to the substance in the ground, the more common it is for you to have abilities of, alchemy. There we go. God. Now that it's in my brain, it's like, yep, that's how you say it. That's how you have the ability to do alchemy. And the closer you are, the more intense it is and the more people in your family have it. And so there's other people from other nations who very, very seldom have this power. But that kind of like shows the whole like geopolitical scape of this, but more specifically to our, capitalism kind of aspect. The people who mine it are therefore extremely able to use alchemy. It's like definitive that your kids are going to be able to use alchemy. And so who are the people that control the mining of that substance? The holdfasts. And so the guilds are like, wait a second, I don't love that you are able to decide who and who isn't going to have alchemized power or whatever. And so that's kind of also underpinning this, that the guilds want to use necrothals who like free labor. Why don't we do that? And then nobody really has any kind of like weirdness, and it's just like fate if it ends up. And the holdfasts are like, no, we would like to control who is able to use alchemy and who isn't, because that's part of our whole like religious, political faith, underpinning and our reason that we're in control of everything.
Which I think is a genius move on SenLinYu's part to, you start the book and you start the story with, okay, here's the good side, here's the bad side. And then you realize about halfway through, like, well, the bad side has some good points.
You're like, wait a second.
Are they really the bad side? And then
no.
And then you get to the end, you're like, the good side wasn't so good. And you're just left questioning, like, are no humans good? Because all humans are corruptible.
Yeah. And I think, so just for a moment, comparing Manacled to Alchemized, I think that was something that was both better done in Manacled, but also better done in Alchemized. That in Manacled, kind of this like ethical question that's posed to Helena that she kind of like struggles with is a little bit more visceral, I think, in Manacled. But in Alchemized, it's like there's a little bit more of like a geopolitical like question behind it of like, yeah, we probably should use dead bodies, so like I don't have to be in the hospital all the time. And you're like, girl, I kind of get it. But in like Manacled, you're like, damn, that's some kind of like dark stuff.
Well, I think in Manacled, it's the, forgive me, readers, I feel like it's the 5th grade version of the problem set that's presented in Alchemized. In Manacled, it's, do we use the Cruciatus curse to murder people? Avada Kedavra.
Girl.
Or whatever.
The killing curse.
Okay. The
Same vibe, though.
The killing curse and the torture curse. Can we use that to get what we want, get what we need, and make effort for the good cause?
Yeah.
Do the ends justify the means?
Mm-hmm.
And in Alchemized, it's the same, like you said, the same exact problem set is, can we use necromancy to further our cause and justify the means?
Yeah. But it's a little bit more squidgy in Alchemized, so that you're like, I kind of get it. But in Manacled, you're like, no, that's wrong. And you're like, I kind of get why she wants to do it. But like, damn, girl. But in Alchemized, you're like,
why not? And I think it's because she layered in the religious aspect of it. because there is no good answer. There isn't an answer. There is no one solution thing to this problem set, which is it's just what is your internal motivation? Do you believe in this thing, therefore you cannot do this thing, or are your beliefs flexible and therefore you can achieve your ends more easily?
A little bit of like a literary criticism moment. As the reader, you are kind of like sitting in Helena's perspective because this is third person limited.
Mm-hmm.
So you only really know what Helena knows. But Helena is like an immigrant and she is not necessarily like fully, fundamentally from birth ingrained in the faith. And she's kind of like a convert, so to speak, to the faith. And so her like questioning of like, why don't we do necromancy mirrors you as the reader because you're like, I don't see why this is such a big deal. But everyone around Helena has like grown up with this as like a fundamental, tenet of the religion. And so they're like, you're fucking crazy. But it's like an interesting like SenLinYu, you fucking clever finger waggle because you are also kind of like echoed in Helena because she's like a transplant. She's like, I don't understand why these people are so fucking up in arms about not using necromancy. And you as a reader are like, why won't they just use it? Fascinating.
I hesitate to make this comparison. And I will make the comparison and then I will not comment on it because it's a very divisive opinion.
Ooh.
But I feel like this is a very similar argument structure, divisive piece as abortion.
Oh, I could see that.
So I will leave it there.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn our podcast political in any way. This is a safe space for people and all of their opinions, whatever they may be. But I feel like the nuances that you get in that debate and that discussion are very similar to what we see the characters experience when they're dealing with necromancy.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of steering back into what is the actual science and fantasy element of Alchemised. We kind of touched on it briefly, which is lumithium is the substance that promotes an affinity for metals.
And it's also the substance you have to use to transmute metals between whatever.
So if you are born with this affinity, you pretty much have a strength with any kind of metal, but you're going to have a more dominant one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the one that you can like mold steel or mold iron.
Transmute.
Technical term.
Sorry.
Excuse me, SenLinYu and Katie.
I heard this was a seminar.
We're in 101 Alchemized. Thank you.
I respect
Our
that.
students are showing up a little pre-gamed.
I'm like the, post-grad TA who's like, I've taught this class 37 times. Also, that's like way overconfident of me. I am also in the audience.
So we have the science of manipulating metals and you have an affinity for it. Again, science, not fantasy for our characters. And then you have these three kind of not interchangeable, but like interrelated practices of vivimancy, animancy, and necromancy. Necromancy is the manipulation of dead bodies. Vivimancy is the manipulation of living bodies and organs. And then animancy is the manipulation of the mind and the soul. And kind of in that same order is the order of like prevalence that those kind of abilities exist. And so Helena and Kaine and Morrow all have vivimancy and animancy and necromancy tendencies because they're all kind of intertwined. But again, considered science, not quite fantasy, which is a weird intersection to be sitting in as a reader.
I would almost argue, though, that sometimes the way that the side characters talk about these things, I would almost say that this part is the fantasy for them. That like the alchemy is something that they can understand because it like exists within the religious like power structure, that they're like, oh yeah, alchemy is turning impure substances into pure substances. Like I religiously understand that. But I think the like necromancy, vivimancy part is where they're like, that's kind of science fiction. Like that's wrong. That's like against my religious beliefs. I'm not going to read that book. And I feel like that's why it's so like taboo for certain parts of the society. But then like Morrow and kind of the Industrial Revolution and then this whole like mining thing kind of turned necromancy into like a, like, acceptable evil almost that, like, yeah, it's kind of, like, against the religious tenets, but, like, we need it for things. And people are like, "Well, I love money, so, like, sure." But then the other parts are like, "People don't do that. That's crazy." People can't control living organs, but, I don't know. That's my take.
That fits, though, with the reactions of the characters.
Mhm.
It's yeah. I don't know that we can comment too much more on
Without,
without revealing,
getting into it.
but hopefully our, rabbit hole variation of, like, this is alchemized and the world and the politics can help steer. There are some aspects, I think, if you have this in your brain when you're reading Alchemized, it will help you provide context to
Mhm.
what SenLinYu is creating here, and that is the parallels with World War II,
Yeah.
which she talks about in her kind of Q&A and some of her articles as well. So I have been working my way very slowly through a book titled The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich
Oh.
by William Schreier. It's amazing. I highly recommend listening to the book rather than, like, reading it, just because it's thick.
Thick.
But it's also written by a journalist who was in Germany pre-war, during war, and
Ugh.
did, hundreds, thousands of hours of research and interviews. It's amazing.
Mhm.
But what it documents is, how does a movement like that, how does the Nazi movement, like, come to power?
Mhm.
And it starts, like, you go pre-Hitler, you go into, like, what was Germany like during World War One and
Mm.
post-World War One, and talks about, like, the intersection of the rise of communism, morphing of like, extreme nationalism into fascism,
Mhm.
and then how that kind of topples an empire monarchy and turns it into, what became Germany in World War Two.
Mhm.
And I think if you have that kind of mindset understanding of what happened during World War Two, and kind of getting into some of the more, like, alienation of specific populations and eugenics, which was a practice by the Nazis with all of
Yeah.
their stuff.
Yeah. I feel like that's the easiest way that we can,
Like, really
reduce
kind of
that.
break it down. But the parallels are extreme with
Mhm.
Alchemized, and SenLinYu did that deliberately.
Yeah.
So if you kind of go into Alchemized thinking that those parallels are going to exist, I think
Mhm.
it's going to give you kind of a roadmap for, like, what's going to happen next in the plot.
Yeah. I almost feel like it gives deeper, like, sensation maybe while you're reading the book that you don't necessarily, because I don't wanna, like, turn readers off where they're like, "I don't really know a lot about history. I don't know that I can, like, super enjoy this book." But if you have, like, a general understanding of World War II, I feel like some of the moments hit harder, I
Mhm.
guess, especially in part 3 of the book. Like, some of the events that happen, you're like, "Oh, like, that
Oh,
literally
the fact that the
happened."
US happened, like, joined the last year or 2 and
Yep.
decided, "Hey, we're gonna
Yep.
be the victors," and,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
And then just kind of like, squidgy away some of the harder things that happened because it didn't fit a necessarily,
Mhm.
clean narrative. The assassination of a certain person who participated in certain events during the book.
Uh-huh.
Also very much, Argentina and things like that. But yeah, it makes everything hit harder where you're like, oh, like this could be real if things were a little bit different in our planet, and were maybe at one
Well,
point.
I think that's what makes Alchemized such a dark book, because
Yeah.
it's not made up.
Yeah.
It's not fantasy. The things that happen in Alchemized actually happened.
Mhm.
The content warnings, the human experimentation, the
Yeah.
the eugenics program, all of that occurred.
Yeah.
The Yeah, so I don't wanna take this on a dark note because
Yeah, because I will say I appreciated that Alchemized didn't go too far into that to the extent that Manacled did. Because some of the tidbits about, like, the hospitals and stuff
Oh,
that
yeah.
are, it's so draining, and this Alchemized is draining, but maybe not to the same extent that you're like, "Jesus, I."
But I think you're doing a disservice to yourself if you read Alchemized in, like, a bubble and think, "Oh, yeah, this
Yeah.
is a romantasy book."
Yeah.
Yes, you could classify it as romantasy. You could
Yeah.
classify it as gothic horror with a strong romance subplot,
Mhm.
but it is, I think, a disservice to SenLinYu to
Mhm.
to read Alchemized and not try and map it on to what it's based off of.
Yeah. I In summary, if you want it to hit harder.
Like, if you want to be sad.
Yeah, honestly, like if you want to be like really sad, just do like listen to this episode, do a little bit of research, maybe watch, a documentary or two, and then go into Alchemised and be like, I want to hurt.
And ultimately, if you decide that this is too much pain and suffering for you,
yeah, dude, I
Master of
respect.
Crows. Master of Crows is where you need to go.
Yep,
That's the episode for you.
Yeah, there is no geopolitical, machinations.
Just daggers, picnic tables, and Sahara.
Yep, yeah. And some really intense, like non-sexual but sexual fraught tension. I can't even use words because I'm thinking of the back massage scene.
Oh, God, yeah.
Dude. Anyways, Master of Crows, Alchemised books.
That's man, I feel wrung out.
I do too. Yeah, this was a lot.
So we will see for our next book. We don't know what our next book. No, Mate, right?
Mate by Ali Hazelwood.
There is no other way to come off of SenLinYu other than Ali Hazelwood.
Yep, some good Omega verse. I cannot say that with a straight face. Whew, yeah.
From our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page. Hi, readers. Like what you've been hearing? Check out the Spice Archive at notanotherheroine.com to see all of our reviews and ratings. And if you'd like to support our growing library, find us on Patreon and get access to exclusive bonus content.
If you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.